media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news, untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambatv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
From the Savannah to the Midland and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society.
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you prepared? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA, and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your departments?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and governments. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you do better. Ambazonians, watch ethics for an emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 10 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. This weekend, all roads lead to Lebialem. We understand the chaos involved with FMA, Field Marshal's disappearance, King of Ambazonia. But strategy demands that Lebialem be drafted for this weekend, as it is Lebialem's week. We understand what the ARFs are already doing in different places and the strategies of President Sako with plans to revive Lebialem. We anticipate what the new Lebialem has to offer under the vision of His Excellency Samuel Ikome Sako. It is no news that La République du Cameroon is a failed state, with almost $1 trillion franc CFA stolen by the Betty Boulous, who only invest in their stomachs, with over 65% of these money stolen from the southern Cameroons. We'll get into the crux of this embezzlement in the course of the news, and we also hope to have Director of Resource and Finance Mobilization, Nijo, to go through the news with us today. But before that, let's get the prime headline.
Prime headlines for today, 11th August 2022. We'll start with how the Betty Bulus have dilapidated La République du Cameroon by investing in their stomach, making their country a failed state. Colonial La République du Cameroon General Buba Debekro gets first baptism of fire from ARFs of Ngokentuja County. We'll also look at colonial control post at Metazam, how it got dismantled. Also, acquiring birth certificates has become a cumbersome tax in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. We're going to look at how southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have set up self-defense. The state of roads in Ambazonia is another killer after the colonial military and the epidemics. And in sports, we will look at World Cup 2022 tournament set to start one day early with Qatar and Ecuador. In the 1990s, the then vibrant opposition political party, the Social Democratic Front, SDF, cried aloud that there was high level of theft, embezzlement of public funds. The incumbent Biya himself retorted, "Où sont les preuves?" which means, where are the evidences? In such lackluster response, Biya endorsed public stealing when it escalated to alarming proportions. Since La République du Cameroon knows nothing about accountability and follow-up, revelation shows shocking amounts these fellows have siphoned from government coffers and saved in their private bank accounts. These startling revelations continue to blind and brainwash sycophants, both leakers from southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, like the Tazong's Category 0 ministers in La République du Cameroon, who pay newspapers to report that all is well. And that reconstruction of war-torn Ambazonian is possible even as the war rages on. Now, this is where we begin our Undaunted briefings tonight. I am Onyi Okbala, and as always, Star Smart is here. Good evening, Star.
Good evening, Onyi. Good evening, fellow Ambazonians. As said, La République du Cameroon seems to know nothing about accountability or follow-up, and hence this list that seems to be a thievery competition in order of merit. Hilarious though, but serious at the same time. We have this list, the number one going to Atangana Kuna, stealing 200 billion francs CFA, and maybe Ngo stealing 196 billion francs CFA, Obu Mfegwe 118 billion francs CFA, Ababa 106 billion francs CFA, Mesengwe Avom 70 billion francs CFA, Olangwena Awono 60 billion francs CFA, Atangana Mebara 58 billion francs CFA, Undaunted 56 billion francs CFA, Mama Fuda 40 billion francs CFA, Fame Ndongo 32 billion francs CFA, Robert Nkili 32 billion francs CFA, Motaze 30 billion francs CFA, Joseph Edu 30 billion francs CFA, Titus Edzoa, that's 28 billion francs CFA, Charles Metuk 28 billion francs CFA, Nguni Efa 17 billion francs CFA, Thierry Michael Atangana 16 billion francs CFA, Akonzo Zay 8 billion francs CFA, Joseph Belly B 7 billion francs CFA, and Beats BSM 1 billion francs CFA. Can you imagine this happening in a country that can barely pay civil servants? That's almost a trillion franc CFA stolen, with over 65% stolen from southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. They are basically taking the resources from southern Cameroons, wasting it and not even developing either of the Cameroons. This is just outrageous.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
Alright, now General Sagon and his valiant ARFs have welcomed the newly appointed Colonial La République du Cameroon General Buba Debekrio in a big way. The ARFs of Undaunted on Tuesday, August 9, 2022, taught a bitter lesson to the enemy forces of La République du Cameroon by crushing them in a fierce confrontation. Field report says scores of the colonial military, about 40, were killed. Armed cars destroyed, hospital wards filled with the enemy forces as helicopters were seen hovering around Undaunted skies for rescue. Now sent to Ambazonia to crack down on the resistance by liberation forces seeking for their independence, Colonial La République du Cameroon General Buba first went into a friendly encounter with his La République du Cameroon ally, the ADF in Batibor, to blindfold the world that his mission has started on the good footing. But this fateful Tuesday in Undaunted County, an unimpeachable source within the BR military has said that their situation is so terrible and their military may turn their guns around their bosses. But this is just the beginning of IG Level Storm 3 Fire for Fire operation.
And according to the spokesperson for the Undaunted ARF, speaking in Pidgin from Babesi local government area, this person said the casualties were enormous and required helicopters to airlift some. He said FM Sagon has promised to fight to the end to liberate home front and has advised the civilian population to take necessary precautions and take cover in case of any confrontations, pitting the ARFs with the enemy La République du Cameroon's military. Several video and audios have gone viral on social media concerning this ARF's Undaunted milestone. General Buba is a former commander of the Rapid Intervention Battalion, La République du Cameroon's elite force. He is also known as the man who weakened Boko Haram terrorists in the far north region of La République du Cameroon. His recent appointments to the 5th Military Region in the Midland and Savannah has been seen as a strategy to eliminate Ambazonian fighters in the region with the tactics they use against the Islamist group. General Buba should advise Biya to simply come to his senses and stop the senseless war he declared 5 years ago and counting in peace-loving Ambazonians and get to the negotiation table.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
Passengers and drivers plying the Bamenda-Mbouada highway have expressed a sigh of relief that the La République du Cameroon colonial control post at Metazim has been dismantled. This control post served as a remaining colonial vestiges in those days of the laissez-passer, crossing from former southern Cameroon's West Cameroon to East Cameroon, the French Cameroon. As a matter of fact, the Metazim colonial control was ocular proof to every term and Dick and everyone who continued to doubt that Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon were two distinct countries, but for the use of the enemy French language at Matazem that showed the supremacy of the occupier La République du Cameroon over Ambazonia as a captured people even in their homeland. Passengers were forced to spend several hours just to show their ID cards at two separate control posts, one on Amba soil and the other on La République du Cameroon soil, trekking a distance of almost a kilometer to fulfill such a colonial oppressive duty.
Queues of buses are checked one after the other, and in cases where buses are too many, passengers spend not fewer than 2 hours to cross this particular stretch of road. Passengers are allowed to present their ID cards in long queues, buses controlled one after the other before they can enter from one country to another, that is from La République du Cameroun to Ambazonia, and vice versa. Whether it rains or not, passengers are forced to obey these instructions, with the very cold weather of Santa not taken into consideration. It was at this control post that colonial slave Prime Minister Dion Ngute and convoy were attacked by the restoration forces led by General Okoro of Santa 2 years ago on a mission to take the temperature of the ongoing war declared on Ambazonia by dictator Biya.
All right, so we are still in the drafting season, and on Saturday is for Les BLM, and of course we have something for you. You need to know more about the county that will be drafting on Saturday. Of course, that will be Les BLM, but after this break.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age, and not with Undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambatv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team. The name Banwa conveniently describes all the inhabitants of this cluster of 9 chiefdoms, although they do not in any sense constitute a tribe or a single political unit. The word derives from the stem Nwe for Nwa in the northern dialect, which refers to both the country and the language. Bangwa therefore currently refers to the people who speak in Way and inhabit the narrow strip of country in West Cameroon, which forms the foothill of the section of the East Cameroon Plateau inhabited by the Bamileke. The term Unwe is moreover used more specifically to describe the highland areas of the four chiefdoms Fontem, Fotabong, Fonjumeta, and Foto Dungatet. The Wabene people constitute one main clan, which is the Mundani clan, the population which can either be referred to as Lower Mundani and Upper Mundani of the Mid and Highlands. These people are said to have originated from Widukum from the northwest region. The main dialect is known as the Mundani, all live in harmony as one person. Other tribes found within the municipality are Bangwas, the Bamalekes, the Bayangs, the Meta, and the Basosi.
All right, before we continue, we have these great graphics character display from Ambazonia Bobo. I'm sure that the technicians would want to place that on the screen for you all to see. Remember, it's all about Le BLM come Saturday. Remember, you have to draft. Remember that nothing is too small, and of course nothing is too big. So make out the time to be part of the draft on Saturday. Now, of course, the great tourist sites Undaunted waterfalls, caves, and the tropical evergreen forest of the lower zone also endanger species such as the chimpanzees and the western lowland gorillas to wild cats like African civets, gannets, foxes, stone, hayracks, antelopes, deers, caniras, grasscutters, and varieties of avifaunas like Banaman, turacos, parrots, even though there is no protected areas like reserve or parks. In the municipality, the inhabitants of the Fondoms protect patches of forests of varying sizes from 0.5 to 1.5, especially around the palaces of the chiefs or the Fon's palace. Now, these mini reserves are traditionally referred to as Lethem or sacred forest. These lethems contains forest trees with closed canopies and shrubs on one large tree around which the villagers traditionally adore or offer sacrifices. They deposit diamonds. Quartz can be found in the hills of Wabene rather. All right, if you're still watching, you can take a closer look at some of these character comics that we have here, courtesy of Ambazonia Bobo. You can see these Lady Casey, of course. This is all reminding us that Saturday would definitely be a great time for every one of us to come together again as one. All right, the news continues after this break.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
It is but normal It is but normal that when the people no longer enjoy the protection of institutions supposedly put in place to guarantee their safety, auto defense mechanism will be put in place. This is the case with the people of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. The action of the colonial military and forces of law and order have proved to the people otherwise. The colonial military and forces of law and order in Ambazonia have made money making other expenses of the local population their objective and careless of the people they claim to be protecting. The agenda of the colonial security forces in southern Cameroon has nothing to do with the protection of the people. This is the more reason why the people of Ambazonia have resorted in protecting themselves. How come a gang of 3 keeping terrorists the population repeatedly without the colonial forces of law and order bringing them to book? Anyway, it's just a clear indication that Ambazonian lives do not matter at all to them.
This is the full story now. A suspected member of a gang that has been terrorizing inhabitants of Bamenda Tree County in Nkwane and beyond has been beaten to death at Mbelim, a neighborhood in that county, Midland region of Ambazonia. Reports say that they were 3 in number when the population stormed their hideouts as they were in a deep slumber. The door was forced open and the 3 boys pulled out. 1 managed to escape while 2 were not that fortunate. 1 could not withstand the severe pain he got from the pounding and had to give up the ghost. The other was rescued by colonial security forces while 1 managed to break away from the mob. Latest reports say the unresponsive body of the young man that was lying around Firewood Junction at mile 6 in Nkwane has been retrieved by family members. Mobile phones, computers, and other items were discovered in their keeping. It is not clear if they were in possession of any weapons or not. The mob tried in vain to seize from the colonial security forces the rescued alleged bandit. To the mob, with the corrupt nature of the colonial judiciary of La Republique du Cameroon, the bandits will soon be on the streets again.
All right, so let's see. We'll be talking about the roads, how bad the roads are. But it seems like the state of the road in Ambazonia is another killer after the colonial military and epidemics. And I just wonder, we will continue to talk about these until something is done, until roads are provided for our people. Now, the colonial city mayor, Paul Achombong, has completely missed out as roads maintenance is concerned. Not only do people waste a lot of time navigating through potholes, the rate at which vehicles get spoiled is alarming, and the number of road accidents increasing at a precipitated rate. Some of these actions and some of these accidents could have been avoided if not for the bad roads. Is the colonial authorities refusing to maintain city road not a calculated attempt to cripple an already limping economy paralyzed by the war declared on southern Cameroonians?
3 persons are in a critical state in a health facility in Bamenda Chief Town of Midland region of Ambazonia after their bikes collided head-on at the Ndamokong Street neighborhood. That was on Monday, August 8, 2022. Blood could be seen oozing from different parts of their bodies as they were being rushed to a hospital. This is coming after many have died on that same road just of recent, with all accusing fingers pointing at the nature of the road. A 16-year-old boy is said to have died about a fortnight after his motorbike collided with another. He reportedly passed away in a health institution. With these repeated accidents on this same spot, the colonial authorities are doing nothing to remedy the situation.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
Moving on to this other part of today's story, acquiring a birth certificate has become very cumbersome. A birth certificate is a legal proof of identity. This legal proof of identity can help protect children from violence, abuse, and exploitation. Without a birth certificate, children are unable to prove their age, which puts them at a much higher risk. With the current war and the modus operandi of the colonial military, houses of Southern Cameroonians have been burnt down, leaving many birthday certificates in ashes. With the bad fate of the colonial regime, which is only a calculated attempt to annihilate the people of Ambazonia, the procedure to acquire a birth certificate has been made very cumbersome. By failing to make the procedure easier, is it not an indirect way of accepting that the people of Ambazonia are of a separate country? The time indeed is now for the borderline to be drawn.
In the house slave of the so-called Northwest Regional Chief of the Northern National Bureau of Civil Status, known in its French acronym as BUNEC, Levi Fongen-Neber, says the current socio-political crisis ravaging the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon is a reason while close to 60,320 peoples are without birth certificates in the region. Now, the colonial BNEC, boss for the Midland region, reviewed the statistics on Wednesday, the 10th of August 2022, during the 11th African Day of Decentralization and Local Development and the 5th African Day of Civil Status Registration in Bamenda. 6,360 pupils are schooling without birth certificates. This situation is really disturbing, and this is due to the fact that most of them fled their homes because of insecurity. Now, this is what Levi intimated. Many have described the process of obtaining a civil status document, especially birth certificates in the region, as cumbersome. Talking to Undaunted, a family head who voted to be addressed as Chair Walter, narrated what he went through when he wanted to establish birth certificates for his children. In his narration, he says, the hospital birth certificates got burned in my house in Bello when military men in uniforms came visiting. He said, I had no choice but to establish new ones. He said an NGO wanted to help. This didn't work because my son had already established a national identity card and the NGO wanted to change his place of birth, which I rejected.
To add to that, Chia said, I went to the courts for a declaratory judgment and a lawyer demanded for 90,000 francs CFA for 3 birth certificates, and she says she was stranded. Chia's ordeal is just one of the many untold stories people go through to establish civil status documents, especially birth certificates. With the crisis refusing to subside in the region, with many homes still going up in flames alongside civil status documents, fears are high that many pupils will continue to go without birth certificates for as long as the crisis persists.
Alright, fellow Ambazonians, we sincerely apologize that we're not able to bring our analysts as we expected. I'm sure that subsequently in our next bulletin, either on Saturday or by Monday, we'll definitely have all the in-house analysts that we have expected to be on Undaunted today to share their thoughts and, of course, air their minds on most of the story that we've given out today. Coming up next is sports. The World Cup is set to start one day earlier than planned on Sunday, 20th November, with host Qatar taking on Ecuador. The Group A opener was due to be played on the 21st November at 16 GMT. As at the third match of the competition, the opening match of the tournament was to be Senegal against the Netherlands at 10 p.m. GMT earlier on the Monday. However, the administrative arm of world governing body FIFA has submitted a proposal to move the Qatar game. It followed discussions with Qatar and their opponent Ecuador after receiving a request from South American Confederation CONMEBOL. It fits in with the tradition of either the host or the holders being involved in the opening match.
And the final decision will be made by the Bureau of the FIFA Council, which comprises the 6 confederation presidents plus FIFA president Gianni Infantino. If it is approved as expected, it would not change the release dates for players, and Senegal against the Netherlands would be switched to 16 on the Monday, giving only 3 games which would be played instead of the present 4. England's Group B match with Iran, which is being played at 13 on 21st November, would be unaffected, as would Wales' opening match against the United States of America at 21 on the same date. Well, Gabellison has more.
Latest world sports. Football. World Cup 2022. Tournament set to start one day early with Qatar versus Ecuador. The World Cup is set to start one day earlier than planned on Sunday, 20th November, with hosts Qatar taking on Ecuador. The Group A opener was due to be played on 21st November at 1600 GMT as the third match of the competition. The opening match of the tournament was to be Senegal against the Netherlands at 10 earlier on the Monday. However, the administrative arm of world governing body FIFA has submitted a proposal to move the Qatar game. It followed discussions with Qatar and their opponents Ecuador after receiving a request from the South American Confederation CONMEBOL. It fits in with the tradition of either the hosts or the holders being involved in the opening match. The final decision will be made by the Bureau of the FIFA Council, which comprises the 6 confederation presidents plus FIFA President Gianni Infantino. If it is approved as expected, it will not change the release dates for players, and Senegal against the Netherlands will be switched to 1600 on the Monday, given only 3 games will be played instead of the present 4. England's Group B match with Iran, which is being played at 1300 on 21st November, would be unaffected, as would Wales' opening match against the United States of America at 2100 on the same date. Gianni Infantino, Africa to back FIFA president's bid for re-election. African football will support FIFA President Gianni Infantino in his re-election bid next year, the Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe has said. CAF officially endorsed the candidacy of Infantino at its General Assembly in Tanzania on Wednesday, with Motsepe reiterating support for the Confederation itself and also on behalf of member associations to our brother based in Europe. Re-elected unopposed as president of the football's world governing body in 2019, Infantino is set to stand for a 3rd term at the 73rd FIFA Congress next year. We discussed at the executive committee meeting that in recognition of the huge contributions, commitment, and the track record that you've built in terms of improving African football, all 54 member nations have taken a resolution to vote for you, Gianni Infantino, for re-election, said Motsepe. He has shown so much commitment and love to football in Africa. I've been honored whilst visiting about 30 nations over the last year to hear the people who love football on the African continent, as well as the presidents of football in all of the 54 African nations. They've said that the work Gianni Infantino has done, the visible improvements, and the contribution to African football is greatly appreciated. No other candidate has yet declared an interest in standing in the FIFA elections against Infantino, who was first elected president in February 2016. The 52-year-old Swiss Italian took to the stage in Tanzania to thank Africa for its support and pledged his continuous backing to the game on the continent. He then joined Motsepe for the launch of Africa's new Super League, which is scheduled to start in the 2023-2024 campaign. Back in January, the FIFA boss came under severe criticism for comments referencing African migrants dying at sea when talking about the reforms to football's calendar. Tennis. Cameron Norrie, Jack Draper, and Dan Evans through to the third round. Britain's Cameron Norrie, Jack Draper, and Dan Evans are all through to the third round of the Canadian Open as Nick Kyrgios came from a set down to beat world number 1 Daniil Medvedev. Draper 20 defeated Greek Stefanos Tsitsipas 7-5, 7-6, 7-4 to claim his first victory over a top 10 player. Evans beat world number 8 Andrei Rublev 6-4, 6-4 in Montreal. British number 1 Norrie 26 came through 6-1, 6-2 against Dutchman Botic van de Schenschop. Wimbledon finalist Kyrgios 27 lost a first set tie-break, but the Australian fought back to win 6-7, 1-7, 6-4, 6-2. Also on Wednesday, 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal confirmed that he will compete at next week's Cincinnati Open, having missed the Canadian Open because of the abdominal injury he suffered at Wimbledon. Draper, who is ranked 82 in the world rankings, had to fight back from a breakdown in the second set before stealing the win against Tsitsipas, who made 40 unforced errors just before 1 a.m. in Montreal. He will face 17th seed Gael Monfils of France for a place in the quarterfinals on Thursday, while 32-year-old Evans takes on American Taylor Fritz. Norrie, meanwhile, will play Felix Auger-Aliassime for the second time in a week after he beat the Canadian on Saturday in the Los Cabos Open semi-final for the first time in 5 meetings. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted.
And with that sports report, we have come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, here is a recap of our major stories.
Today we discussed how the Betty Boulous have dilapidated La République du Cameroon by investing in their stomachs, making the country a failed state. Colonial La République du Cameroon General Boba Debekro gets first baptism of fire from ARFs of Ngoketunja County. Colonial control post at Matazem has been dismantled. We gave you a report how acquiring birth certificates has become a cumbersome task in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia.
Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia has stepped up self-defense. The state of Rose in Ambazonia is another killer after the colonial military and epidemics. And in sports, we told you that World Cup 2022 tournament set to start 1 day early with Qatar and Ecuador. And that was it for tonight on Undaunted, bringing you the news on Untold Stories. On behalf of my co-anchor Star Smart and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in. I am Onyi Opbala.
We'll leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Good night and God bless you.